the graveyard in his sack.
I experienced my first successful Christmas ever. So this year, I've come back with some improvements. to make this the jolliest Christmas ever. I feel so at home in this magical place. But I'll never forget the confusion I felt the first time I set foot on that creaky mansion roof. Forgive me whilst I dream. What's this? There's color everywhere. What's this? There's light in the air. What's this? I can't believe my eyes. I must be dreaming. Wake up, Jack. This isn't fair. What's this? What's this? What's this? There's something very wrong. What's this? There's people singing songs. What's this? The streets are lined with little creatures laughing. Everybody seems so happy. Have I possibly gone daffy? What's this? I know more. What's this? What's this? It shouldn't go wrong. It's not a skeleton. They're riding on the sled. They're marching toys. Absolutely no one's dead. What's this? What's this? What's this? They've got a great big tree. How queer. Who would ever think? And why? They're coming in the shiny little things. They got electric light on. What's this? Share your memories of Disneyland. What's this? What's this? They're hanging mistletoe. Inspired. Hugging chipmunks by a fire. What's this? What's this? What's this? This house is just like mine. I know a surprise. I've been down and dancing, singing. I can feel it all beginning. What is this? What's this? What is this? Yes, we're all back again. The citizens of Halloweentown and I are very happy about how last season went. But if you think we were going to stop there, then you don't know Jack. This year we'll celebrate the season over 13 weeks.
I love 13!
Yes, I know. And during each of those magical 13 weeks, as a surprise to everyone, a new citizen from Halloweentown will join in the fun of our haunted mansion holiday.
Will I appear?
Oh yes, warts and all.
What about me? Yeah.
You can count your life's blood on it.
Oh, me too, Jack.
Why, of course, Sally.
Will they see me too?
Like this. Yes! Yes, I have plans for each of you. And each of you will be celebrated by the unveiling of a very special brand of pointy, prickly things. A pin, they call it. Designed to look just like you.
Oh, like me? May I see? Show me mine, Jack!
I can't wait to sink my teeth into it.
I hope mine doesn't get the air.
Now. Patience, everyone. You just have to wait. You just have to wait those 13 weeks.
Oh, when does it start?
I'm splitting with excitement.
Well, it all begins very soon.
What about the rest of them? When do they begin to celebrate?
They haven't even decorated yet!
I feel so empty.
Oh, don't worry. They'll begin to. You just wait and see. How I wish there was some way I could tell you of all the wondrous things they have in store. I know! We'll conjure up someone who can! All I need is my dear friend, the witch. A witch? Witch? I have a splendid job for you. Will you help me, please?
Oh, whichever way I can! Oh, great pumpkin king, you're a witch's fondest dreams!
that voodoo that you do so well.
What?
I want you to kickstart that old black magic. You know, stir up a mystifying concoction and raise the dead.
Well, why didn't you say so? My cauldron's been boiling mad ever since I fed it those singing children. They just won't shut up. That's better.
No, I want you to scare up a being from another dimension. Someone grand, someone glorious, someone who can tell us all about what's going on here at Disneyland.
Oh, an annual pass holder. They make the best stew.
No. Someone else. Here. Let me whisper in your ear.
Oh, gotcha. Stand back and watch me stir. Magic Kingdom most enchanted, bring forth someone who is granted hidden secrets to the power. Wake her at this timely hour.
I'm sorry. The spirit you are calling does not accept calls from blocked cauldrons. Please press the sliders and stir again.
Sorry, Jack, it's blocked. Blocked cauldron, what could be blocking it? Okay, who put this apple in here? Very funny. It's jamming up the works. Let me try this again. Say it once, say it twice. Take a chance and roll the dice. Come on, Culprit, don't embarrass. Connect us with Cynthia
Cynthia?
Well, hello, Jack. Well, I was just finishing a conference call in Florida. So, how are you this evening?
Delightful. And you, Cynthia?
Fine, thank you, Jack.
Cynthia, I called you because you are the president of the Disneyland Resort. The ghostess with the mostest, if you will. And I knew that you wanted to be here tonight to celebrate the start of another chilling season.
I'm truly disappointed not to be there in person, but I'm thrilled to join each of you in spirit. Our entire Disneyland Resort cast is happy to share this wonderful time of year with all of you. We look forward to this special season with great anticipation and welcome one and all to the happiest haunted holiday season on Earth. We can't wait for Jack to visit us again to create his Haunted Mansion holiday. It's been so popular, even the dearly departed seem to love it. It's such a scream to watch our guests as they take a leisurely ride from Black Christmas. I can't wait for everyone to see what surprises Santa Claus has brought us this year. We hope everyone lights up when we see the thousands of twinkling lights that cover the face of It's a Small World holiday. This year, the entire facade has been painted to match the original design that was featured when the attraction opened in 1966. It's a beautiful vision, mostly white and golden thread. Oh, but before I depart, I also wanted to mention one last favorite place to be during the holidays, Main Street, USA, where a 60-foot Christmas tree rises up into the heavens. A spectacular parade fills the streets with visions of sugar plums dancing, and smiling faces glow at the sight of fireworks and falling snow. I can tell that each one of you possesses the right kind of spirit for the season. You're the ones who truly believe in holiday magic. So thank you, Jack, and all of you who come here. From the bottom of my heart, I share my deepest appreciation and send my wishes to you that all of your holiday dreams come true. You've already granted mine. You've made the entire resort come alive with the spirit of the holidays. Hurry back.
Jack! She's a scream! Is she available? For dinner!
Don't worry. I've invited some special guests who will be with us this evening. They're here to share their stories of Halloweentown. My good citizens, fetch the victims. I mean, our guests. How dare you treat my friends so shamefully? They should have a proper greeting. And I, as your pumpkin king, call upon the magical voice of the kingdom to offer our official introductions.
Direct from Halloweentown to you, the talented actor who puts his spooky twist on the voices for the man under the stairs, the vampire, and the corpse father, Carrie Katz. The versatile actor-singer who performed vocal feats unknown to man nor beast as the voices of Mr. Hyde, the Behemoth, and the vampire, Randy Crenshaw. A two-faced fiend, if ever there was one. He provided the speaking voice for the happy yet sad yet happy again mayor, Glenn Shadix. Finally, the incredible, talented actress who gave voice to the bewitchingly brazen Shock and the sweet, beguiling Sally, Catherine O'Hara.
And now, it is my great pleasure to introduce to you our special medium who will guide us through our discussion this evening. He is the author of that wonderful volume, Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, and a true admirer of Halloweentown, if I do say so myself. Please give a cold welcome to Frank Thompson.
Hello, everybody. This is so delightful to be here the second year in a row. I've actually done no work since last year, and so this is really coming at a good time. I wanted to tell you a little story about myself because I know I'm who you're here to see. When a few weeks after I finished working on the book about Nightmare Before Christmas, I was hired to write a book about the making of the Sylvester Stallone Wesley Snipes epic Demolition Man. My agent was tickled by this because he said, the Nightmare thing will be a nice little cult thing, but Demolition Man, there's a blockbuster. So 9 years later, I'm still going to those Demolition Man conventions, as you can imagine. And we're really packing them in. Last year, my cousin Ernie was there. But this, I don't think anybody expected this to happen like it did, and for the popularity of this film to grow year after year after year. I think probably it's bigger now than it ever was, and it's been out for 9 long years, since I was 12. Let's start talking with our esteemed guest. At least 3 of them are esteemed. And we'll find out a little bit about working on the film and doing the voices. I have to tell you, from my own point, I came onto the job after they were all done, so God knows what these people are like. So, let's find out, shall we? First, let's talk about how you got the job. A couple of you guys have worked with Tim Burton before. Was that how it happened? Let's start at this end and tell me how you got the gig, and we'll work our way down.
I got a phone call one day from a lady that was casting voices, singers that could also be silly. And I said, "Count me in!" And we showed up.
Good night, everybody. Once you got there, what happened?
Once we got there, Danny and Henry were very excited, and so excited that they said, "Sing for us." And our answer was, "Happy. Sing what?" "Just sing for us." So we started singing, and they started shaping and telling us we want it more intense, but cheery. And we just sort of massaged things, and they'd ask us to, "How low can you sing?" "Well, I can sing down here, because I am the monster under the stairs. Fingers like snakes and spiders in my hair." And they said, "That's a take." And shortly thereafter, "What else do you got for us?" And every character voice that I had created and borrowed and stolen in telling lullabies and bedtime stories to my children found their way into Nightmare.
Randy, could you tell me why the lights aren't on in my chair?
Well, I had a lot to do with
And
that.
next, how did you get the job?
Yeah, like Carrie, I got a call from her. See? Just pull that little lever right there to the left. There you go. The electrodes aren't. Well, anyways, I got a call from a singer contractor, Bobby Page, at the time, who said basically what Carrie was told. Look, we're looking for people who can sing and who can really sing, but can do a variety of characters. And the idea was that they already had some really great people, as you'll be talking to here, cast in some of the major roles, and the rest of us were supposed to be kind of like a repertory company to do all the remaining townspeople and all the various things. So we had to go in there not knowing what we were going to do and just make it up on the spot, and that's what we did a lot of the time. We just, improvised with Danny saying, well, there's no music, but it kind of goes like this. We're madly writing. Okay, I need somebody to sound like a mom, but she has to have a slash in her face. Or whatever it was.
Glenn, you'd worked with Tim Burton before. Did that have anything to do with you being cast in this? On Beetlejuice?
Yeah, it did. Oh, by the way, I co-starred in Demolition Man. It's not as big of a hit as this one, but hey.
You've never shown up at the conventions.
No,
you can get Dennis Leary.
I was Associate Bob. No, the way I got this job, the way I heard that I got it, I was at a pool party at Tim's, and he was like up in this jacuzzi area, and I was down in the pool. And he hollered down and said, "Hey, Glenn, you got a big voice. You want to play the mayor in Nightmare?" And I went, "Sure." And that was it. So,
Catherine, do you have a more interesting story than that?
Why did you start on this end?
I was working up.
You're cruel.
I know.
The least to great.
I wish I had a I follow Glenn wherever he goes. I worked with Glenn on Beetlejuice, and Tim asked me to do this. I don't know why. I guess they wanted
like they didn't have much in them, but stuffing or whatever I don't know. So they wanted people who could sing and be funny for you guys, but they didn't seem to care about who could sing with my part. It was just somebody very a lightweight voice, I guess, is what they were looking for.
She was
So I got it.
wonderful.
No, I got it. Working with you.
Well, how did the character of Sally change as you started working on the film? Did you have any kind of impact on what kind of character she was?
No, I think they gave it to me because they showed me these amazing little figures that they used for the stop frame animation, and there are, hundreds of bodies and hundreds of heads with different expressions, and every head with every expression in between every expression, because I don't know if you know, they must know how this works better than I do, of course. I shouldn't be trying to explain it, but they showed me the world that they created, Tim and Henry Selick and Rick Heinrichs, and that's what gave me the idea. And then we just did it so many times, and I think because it's stop frame animation and because it's sort of a movie made a millisecond at a time, it's almost like every word was recorded one at a time. So I never really had a full sense of the character until I sang the song, and because that was from beginning to end. And that's the only time I really kind of had an idea of what I was doing. The rest of the time I just trusted them. Thank God they knew what they were doing.
I like working when I don't know what I'm doing, like now. What kind of direction did Henry give you as you went on? What kind of things was he saying to you to get this?
Try, but I don't want to go. 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 Yes, Henry.
Glenn, didn't the mayor start out something very, very different than how he turned out?
Well, Tim just sent me some early drawings of the mayor. It's on my website, glenshadix.com. He started as two ends one day. It started out, it was like a bug with like 8 feet. And then there was a very thin version of the mayor. And then there was me. Yeah.
Well, how did they choose?
They ended up with the larger version.
Well, how did you come up with the way you interpreted the mayor? How did you come up with the voice on this thing?
Oh, you want me to tell the Karen Black story, don't you?
Well, I don't know what you're talking about.
You all remember a movie, some of you do, some of you don't. There was a movie back in 1975 called Airport 75. Well,
You were in that too.
oh, no. But I had to play, I had the two voices. The happier mayor was like every Southern politician, rolled in through my filter or whatever. But I had to have this anxiety, fear-ridden mayor, and I was looking for the right, key to that voice so I could, hop into it. Well, there's a scene in Airport 75 where Karen Black plays this stewardess that's forced to fly the plane and she doesn't know how. And so she turns to the camera and with her best cross-eyed Karen Black look goes, I can't fly a plane! And I picked up on that, and Karen, I actually know Karen, and I couldn't get that out of my head, and I kept thinking, well, that's perfect for the anxiety-ridden mayor. So every time I would have to do one of the mayor's anxiety-ridden speeches, that face, I would literally have to go through, I can't fly a plane! I would even cross my eyes. I said,
Randy, when you were doing so many characters, and they were urging you to improvise now and again, so did those characters change at all? I mean, what was going on with that?
Yeah, they actually changed a lot as they took shape. In fact, we would basically audition the characters a bit, and we would get comments like, okay, that guy except slower, wimpier, and higher. you know, and then we'd try it again, and so forth. And it was kind of like Catherine talking about the direction, I want to, I want to, I want to. So, for instance, with the Mr. Hyde character, we knew that there would be a large Mr. Hyde, a medium Mr. Hyde, and a little one that came out of the top of his head. And so, Danny said, well, why don't you do all three voices? And so at first I was doing the different voices. Is it who? Is it them? Is it them? And he said, no, that sounds like too much like the same guy. So they did it with tape speed. You know, they actually sped up the little guy. Is it rocket and covered with goo? You know, so it sounded like a little tiny guy that was 2 inches tall. So we would try it until they loved it. And sometimes it took quite a while.
Aaron, did you do any improvising in this?
That was only improvising in this because from take to take I wasn't paying enough attention to remember what I was doing.
Nice.
It's a signature. And because the sessions were spread over a period of months, and the people that we were singing and acting for, this was the project that they were working on every day. Well, it wasn't the project that I was seeing every day. I'd see it one day and then maybe 4 or 6 weeks later. And they'd say from the booth, okay, Carrie, this is going to be Monster 7.
Remember that?
And, you know, Randy, how did Monster 7 go?
Monster 7 was kind of like Peter Lorre.
Oh, okay. And then I get back into the character. And I remember one panic that happened. And I'm grateful, I know there was more than one, but I only remember one. And we had spent about 5 hours on the vampires, which is Bela Lugosi.
Right.
And blessed memory. And Danny said, okay, that's it. Now, I need Boris Karloff. And I blanked. And I know the name, and I didn't have a Boris Karloff to do. And I asked for a 10. And then I asked Randy, how's Boris Karloff going? And Randy told me, and we came back in and did another monster with Boris Karloff. But it was, well, my life was flown by the seat of my pants, so I wasn't surprised that the sessions were going that way. As far as seeing characters develop, we saw characters one day in San Francisco when we saw the model making shop, but we have no idea who any of them were or what they were. So when the film finally came out and we were watching the film, there would be, oh, that was me, that was me. And you knew it just from whatever the voice you're doing, and you'd say, oh, look, I'm the snot monster, that's great. But when you were doing it, it was just a wild track into the air, and you didn't know what the character was doing. But your boss knew what the character was doing, and would ask you to remember what the character was doing.
Well, Catherine, with your improvisational background in Second City, surely you were improvising your way throughout this entire thing.
Nobody asked me to improvise a word. It's fine. I didn't know anybody was improvising. I did all my sessions by myself except one with Chris Sarandon, who played Jack. Only one session with him. Otherwise, I was on my own, like most of the other people, right? And no, it was totally the script. And I would make another trip back to San Francisco if there was a word change to go back and do that. But it was all, no, I think somebody must have known somebody that they were basing Sally on or something. It's a very precious character to them, and there was no playing around with who she was.
Word for word on the script, eh?
Yeah.
But the script, and any of you guys can address this, the script was undergoing fairly constant revision too, wasn't it? I mean,
Yeah, it's probably why we had a lot of sessions, because there were changes. Don't you think?
Yeah. And it was strange. For me, it was really my first foray into voiceover work, really. And I thought we'd all get together and read it, and like relate to each other and have that kind of energy to start with. But no, it was all done individually, like Catherine said, and it was done very methodically and kind of almost disembodied in a way. It was like Henry had very specific things that he wanted, and it wasn't until we'd done several sessions that I could get into the flow of it. But it was there was never any interaction amongst the performers, really.
We had actually a little easier time of it, the little repertory company, once it got to us, because there were more of us hanging around in the same room. And we had things like Danny trying to sing the voice of one of the vampires, and he couldn't sing, his falsetto wouldn't go high enough. And so I remember I had to sing over him, and he sang the vampire underneath me, and we all sounded like we were out of, a bad Anne Rice novel, It's like, but we would work stuff. It was sometimes just a process of elimination. Look, you suck on that. You're not so good. Okay, maybe Carrie will do it. Yeah. And so that by process of elimination, we cast a lot of the different parts, but we still didn't know, because we came back and when they redid script, we did that same thing. We'd come in and redo four words. And think, what did we do back then?
It was the music really where you got to be with other people, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was where it became more of a little party.
Was the music shot at a different time than the dialogue, or was it all mixed up, the sessions?
All it was done in LA. The music was all with Danny Elfman. So he was very patient with us non-musician singers. But all the dialogue pretty much was all with Henry, and then the music for us was that way. I think they got to mix it up a little bit and add some improv into their scene that became some dialogue in the movie, which was great.
But we never were able to really improvise a lot of dialogue. It wasn't that kind of improv. It was more like, well, you can mess with the character a little bit, but it's still got to be those words, so.
Right, it was more improvising character.
Yeah.
Well, for those of you who've never read my book, and I'd like to see a show of hands, Caroline Thompson wrote the script, no relation to me, unfortunately, because I could use a loan. But as Danny Elfman worked on the music, the script was constantly evolving. So I guess that had a lot of the impact, because he would write more songs, she would write more lines, which would inspire him to write different songs, which would inspire her. So this thing, right up until the very, very end, was never really finished.
It started with Michael McDowell, who wrote Beetlejuice, did one storyline through, and then Carolyn came in and did keep evolving.
So you were doing voices probably longer into the process than many voice actors on other things, probably.
Oh, it was like 2 years, wasn't it?
Yes, it seemed to, it was a really long time.
We started in 90.
Months apart, like you said. Yeah. And you go and they still be on the same little set movie, the little figures. Who are you people? You've been in here. How many years have you been in this room? I think, didn't they have like a turnover of people?
Oh, yeah.
You could only, I think you'd go insane. I feel, I'm speaking for myself here, but it feels kind of ridiculous to sit here and actually take any credit for it, because doing a voice was so separate from, and as you say, it involving so many people, and there are people who put years and years into this, into making this movie, and just, it's freaky. I had no sense of what was being done. It was unbelievable to see it. Wow.
I think Tim would have gone crazy having to direct it.
Yeah.
If he had been there on the set every day.
Yeah.
Henry has that patience where he could really handle the stop motion.
Right, and they hired all those people who had unbelievable patience.
And they
I think
really
it's
did.
impossible to actually really appreciate how much physical, just moving things, and just that alone, forget the artistic, just actually moving these tiny little figures and making it happen. I don't get it!
It can be done. It can be done at all. I spent the day one day with an animator named Angie Glocka, and she was doing a scene, the scene where the little boy runs down the stairs and opens the box and there's the shrunken head inside. And she was animating the scene, and so I spent the entire day watching her, and I was in there like 14 hours with her, and I swear to you, that kid was no different when I left than I got there. No different at all. And she was working constantly. It's just impossible. This stuff can't be done. How did you guys...
It wasn't done.
Well, and it wasn't done. So, re-examine your priorities, people. With all your characters, how did you keep them all separate? Straight in your head, what was going on?
I didn't keep them straight in my head. And there would be times that I would just confess my forgetfulness, and they'd play a tape. Well, this is what it sounded like in May. Oh, that, okay, I know what that one is. And what was fun too, towards the end we were getting when Jack's back, and he's coming back into Halloweentown at the very end, and Danny, who was directing us a lot of the time, said to me, Kerry, Jack's coming back into town, say Jack's back. And I said, as what? He said, as yourself. And I thought, oh, okay, Jack's back. And so you can see the dad open the window, and I was like, you get to hear me for 2 words. 2 words. Yeah. It's not even a step out.
I know.
And I'm happy and proud of it, and got names and credit and everything wonderful.
You were burning. You know what? There was one moment where we actually got down to an ADR session, after it was already shot. And I show up at this, $500 an hour ADR studio to loop one for the guy with the hatchet in his head. And they said, well, you should match the character. And then they realized that he never says anything else in the thing. So that made that pretty easy. But usually it was tricky to remember what we had done, and they would play us a little reference of it if we were lucky. Or they would say, no, lower, 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 bigger, no. Okay, hotter, got it.
I mean no offense, Randy, but I never believed the
I know. It's method acting.
You probably had to rely on sense memory for that, right?
Exactly.
The time when you had an axe in your head, and how did it feel?
That's funny.
Glenn and Catherine, since you worked with Tim before, I think some of us, including me, are kind of unsure as to how much influence he had on this film. It's always called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, but it really seems to me that it's Henry Selick's film more than anything. But what do you think?
I think the vision, I know the vision came from Tim. I mean, the world, the characters in the world came from Tim. It's got the Tim spirit all over it. What the great combination with Tim and Henry was that Henry had the patience and the dedication, and a lot of his ideas came into play as well. But he oversaw, Tim's vision. And Tim, would come in and they worked. Tim knew what was going on all the time. He wasn't there on the set all the time, but he would get, they would send him, pieces of it. But he developed it at Cal Arts, and then he also developed it when he was an animator at Disney. So, all the characters, through an evolution of sketches, all came from Tim. But I think the great, their sensibilities meshed very well in terms of the cooperation to makeup. And Henry did an enormous contribution, to Tim's work and making it happen. As we're saying, because I don't think Tim would have the patience to be there month after month after month on a stop motion. He's just like a hummingbird.
But he created it and oversaw it.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sure he's involved
It's
all
his
the way
vision.
through. I'm sure they brought it, got his approval on everything.
Oh, yeah.
He's like Walt Disney. Walt Disney's Winnie the Pooh, or Walt Disney's, it's Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas.
How much did you personally deal with him on this film?
Never met the man. No, I'm sorry. He was there for a couple of my, acting sessions, and he was there for Sally's song, and I saw him at a few parties.
Well, the first time I ever saw the screening of it, he had a screening for Catherine Bow and Jeffrey and I. It was like the summer of '93. It was over in the valley. But it was, I cry easy and I laugh easy. I'm just that kind of a person. It made me cry because it was still a little rough, but I knew when I saw it that Tim's magic would really come through, and his spirit's all through it. It's got a lot of Tim in it, and so it was very sweet to see it.
Well, I want to ask you one final thing. It's just kind of a generic question, but I'm really struck by how big this film has gotten in so many ways and how beloved it is, and it grows and grows and grows. What do you think about the lasting impact on this? How much does it affect your own lives? I mean, is it something that you're particularly proud of? And is it something that is just constantly around you as it kind of seems to be? For me, God knows I have no other life than this, but you guys, well, let's start on this end again and move
Oh, no,
down.
that's a mistake.
No. Because I want you to,
I can be brief.
I want you to finish big.
No.
Maybe a song.
No.
Maybe a number.
No, I have to answer first because I had no idea that there were lovely people like you who actually cared. and I'm just honored to be part of it. And I think it's a great movie. It's full of unbelievably beautiful art on every level. But you'd have to explain to me why people are still talking about it, and then we're all here. It's amazing to me.
Is it a favorite of your own kids? You have 2 boys, right?
Yeah, they're quite young, but yeah, they love it. Yeah, really love it. Because Tim's really good at, and I'm giving him all the credit here, but it is his spirit. He's good at doing stuff that is scary, but somehow it's a great balance of dark and light. You know, like Beetlejuice was like that, scary, but somehow, you know, lifted somehow. I don't know. See, I shouldn't speak up publicly.
Nobody can follow that. Go ahead. Follow up.
I have a neighbor who sets up his house for Halloween rather elaborately. And in my home and in his, I get to be the star because during Halloween, and he plays Nightmare Before Christmas, plays the soundtrack, and I get to hit my kids and say, "That's your dad."
And your kids, are they impressed with this, or do they?
Not at all.
Yeah, you know, I get much the same reaction. First of all, I think that one of the secrets to the success of the thing is the real sweetness of the vision, you know, because it could have been dark and macabre and all this kind of stuff, but instead it's kind of the collision of the two worlds. And so it's kind of one of those timeless fairy tales and done beautifully. I mean, it was the first full-length stop-action musical ever, and it's still great. So, but you know, I'm sure when my kids hear, you know, the silly things that I did on it, it's like, "Daddy, use your real voice, not your stupid voice."
And what would one of your stupid voices be? It
would be, would be something like,
"Is it rotten and covered with cook?"
That one especially, I think. Yeah.
Right?
Well, you know, like Catherine said, you know, it's like we just did voices. We had a great time, and we're privileged to be a part of it, you know. But really, it's Tim's vision and the people who really put the hours in that really created this movie, folks. But for me, I feel like Tim's ability to, you know, to create this outsider who's got a great heart that comes in. It's like an Edward Scissorhands. I mean, Jack Skellington is like that to me, and it's just, there's a beautiful story there I think that people can relate to, and it's got a little edginess to it too, you know. But at the center of it is a really great heart and a great spirit. So I think for all of us that are involved with it, it's just been a beautiful thing because people enjoy it, and you hear, you know, when they tell you how much they enjoy the movie, it just makes you smile. It's a very pleasant thing to be involved with a project that does have a little, you know, that has, as they say, legs, you know, that keeps going and finds new audience. It's a gift to all of us, you know, to be a part of it.
Well, I've been kind of like one of those birds that sits on the back of a rhinoceros, you know, because I'm not really connected with it, but in some ways, and it's just been delightful, and especially to get to know guys like you, and it's just really terrific. And I want to thank you people for being such a great audience, and I want to give a shout out to my peeps from Club 33 today. Yo, yo, yo. And thank you so much for coming here. Give a great round of applause for our peeps. And I believe I'm supposed to make a very dignified exit. Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, put your holy hands together for Frank Thompson. We should be joyous. Come in, make yourself comfortable. Have a seat.
I appreciate the offer and the spirit in which it was given, but I think I'll pass on the chair.
Oh, Sandy. You're such a jolly, dear man. Oh, and look, you've brought your wonderful contraption with you. Splendid. It's time for our special guest to depart, and your sleigh is an excellent mode of transportation.
Oh, so I see.
Yes, and now that everything is as it should be, we're ready to go.
Oh, Jack, well, everything seems so right. I only wish that we could have found the secret to that magical touch that makes it seem just like Christmas.
You're right. Something is missing. But what?
Oh, you know that thing you told us about from Christmas Town? Snow. Yes, snow!
But it's only October. It's not yet time for it to snow. Everything can be perfect. Of course, Santa Claus does like to grant wishes.
Did somebody say witches? Here I am, Jack, over here, at your beck and cauldron.
Ah, my dear friend, there is one more thing you can do for me.
Oh, that's a cinch! A blizzard or a light flurry?
A light flurry will do. No need to go overboard.
Gotcha! There's just something I need. A missing ingredient. Something connected to Christmas. Something white.
Oh, no! You leave me out of this!
Oh.
Oh, well, I suppose it's not too early to begin the season of sharing. But please, be gentle.
Of course.
Have you never heard of peace on earth, goodwill toward men?
Forgive us, Santa Claus.
Quickly, Cauldron, bring the winter. There's the night air like a splinter. Jack wants flurries floating down. Bring us snow from Christmas Town. Singing Christmas is alive. That all my children be surprised. It's ours this time.
Why isn't that coming over here? Alright, that's not fair. No, I can't see it.
Eureka! This year, Christmas is ours!
It's simply meant to be.
Merry Christmas! Ho, ho, ho! Now go!
What's this? There's butter everywhere. What's this? There's rocket in the air. What's this? I can't believe my eyes.
Is this a good shot? Can you see it with Jack?
You like Jack?
Yeah, I like Jack.
You didn't need double extra large? I can't.
My mom tell me I look like Jack.
You look like Jack? I don't think you look like Jack. Come on in, let's go to the left side for me, please.
Be cheaper to get a room at the hotel. Okay, whatever.
So beautiful.
You like it, huh?
Can I sit with you on the ice with my mom?
That's good. How are you? Nice to see you.
You want to sit with me on the right?
Yeah.
Don't you want to sit with your mom?
No, it's a long story. Mom, can I sit? Mom, can I sit with her? Because
You should know. No, you should know. Are you having too much? God with his sack. No, you sing. No, you shouldn't go. All through the mansion there goes Jack. graveyard with his sack. Scream! Very good. Now hand me your cash.
Me too. Which one of you guys got a radio called I want to talk to Martha's Landing if possible.